Over 65% of Kenya is aged 35 and below. The median age of Kenyan is 19.9. When they are singing Tukowengi, they are right. Ladies and gentlemen, the country Kenya is staring at unprecedented protests against the finance bill. And so here we are joined by Frank. Frank, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Siku mingi sana bwana.
Siku mingi hatujakuwa pamoja. Lakini tunakachapa.
Unaona venye unaongea?
Tunaona, tunafuatilia.
Yes, it's been a minute. The last time we did a joint show was in during Ogola's death.
Yes, during Ogola's time.
Yeah, during Ogola's time. I don't know, what do you make of the scenes in Nairobi CBD?
It's really indeed interesting times to see young people rise up in solidarity and speak on issues and matters that are directly going to impact on them and that are directly currently impacting on them. So it's a very interesting time to be a Kenyan. Actually, you feel that sense of solidarity and patriotism that indeed you belong. Kumbe, there are people who can come out and speak for Kenya.
And in the bold here, guys, we have been following the protest. Now, it's not even Nairobi protest, actually the nationwide. But our lenses have really been looking at Nairobi. And Frank, you'll agree with me that the CBD is full. That number compared to the number that we witnessed on Tuesday, without being seen as exaggerating, it's a bit double. And I think what the government must be very wary of is the fact that the mobilization in this is typically on social media. No one has gone to any mainstream and say, you guys come out. They have been using the Twitter, the social media, and the TikTok, and it's no longer a doubt. I heard one of the MPs, John Kerry, saying that the crowds on Tuesday were fake crowds. But if you look at the way these people have come out, last time they were being dispersed from different corners, and I think the police were able to control. But today you can see them withstanding, even despite the fact that the water cannons have been brought there with all the security presence. They have been able to show their solidarity, and they have a message they are sending to the country. We will look at that. But do you also realize that they outnumbered the police, Frank?
Yes, indeed. You know, when this thing started on social media, many people, especially the millennials and the age group that came just before the millennials, rubbed it off just as a mere online activism. Nobody indeed actually expected that this thing would now come to the ground and would go on the ground. That's why we've seen across many parts of the country youths coming out in solidarity and speaking, and even the police. There was a video instant where I've seen them telling the police, una overdo. You know, to them, the police is taking this thing seriously, but to them, they are speaking about things that are concerning them. And this is not a generation that utawambia kitu utarajie kwamba yeye atakuchukulia serious. That is why they are telling the police, stop overdo. Yes, we are out to speak for our rights and we are out to speak for our interests. And in that, the police didn't expect that, maybe looking for at it that way.
I've always said in the bold here, humanity comes first. And let's listen into this incident. It really took my mind, because here is a situation where a national journalist confronted the police, and I really seek your opinion as a journalist, and you've also been to mainstream. And let's watch this.
Wafuata waandamanaji katika barabara hii ya Kimathi. Picha ndio hii hapa. Kuna polisi ambaye anamtandika. Njoo. Kuja. Ndugu. Wewe, mbona unatandika watu? Mbona unapiga watu? No, that is wrong. That is wrong. That is wrong. So unataka kunipiga?
Wanatuletea hasira zao. Hawezi tuletea hasira.
No, mtufunge basi.
Now, Frank, this makes me remember a protest I once covered, Firimbi Operation in 2015. So Firimbi Operation was, I was an intern by then, and what I remember, we used to go to Upper Hill. Remember, it was that IBC must go. So we used to go to Upper Hill, then the Raila Odinga's team would let the journalists be in front. And in fact, the argument was, when we are in front with the cameras, the police will be scared and they cannot do something. And by the way, the people that used to shield the politicians were the journalists, because they were saying, when the cameras are there, the police are going to shy away. What do you make of a decision of a journalist confronting the police, saying, what you're doing is wrong? You
know, in the practice of journalism, one of the basic 10 principles of journalism is that your first loyalty is to the citizens. That guy is called Ibrahim Karanja, is from Nation Media. And you look at his bio, he's somebody who believes in the fight for social justice. So even the police themselves, some of them, we've seen them, the way they are compassionate with the protesters. Then it means that it is not only the protester that is affected, but equally, as a journalist, the journalist is also affected by the current rate of, high rate of the cost of living in the country. So, and an injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. So whether you are a journalist, you are a police, you are a teacher, or you are a member of parliament, you should feel that humanity should always come first, just as it is always here in the bold. Yes.
Frank, I think it's interesting, and we are a bit disappointed as a country.
Sure.
What we are going to, what you're seeing on your screen, we should be very disappointed on. This is a vehicle, a motor, this is a metro bus. It was making its way in town, and here the police lobbed tear gas inside this bus, and then people were scrambling, scampering for safety. You need to get your way, and you could see people now coming off that bus and falling down, because like you don't even know, you don't expect. And I am not a security expert, but I don't know what is the wisdom, because this is a bus that it was coming, I understand it was coming from Rongai or so, or that is not even important where it's coming from. But
yes,
if you're a police and you believe that the people in that car in that bus are not supposed to be in town, remember there was nowhere that was announced that you should not come to town.
Sure.
So no one said that things should not move on, number one. Number two, if you want to believe they are protesters and they are joining and they should not join, then what is the essence of stopping them and they're already in town? If you will stop them outside town, it will make sense. What would be the reason behind police going after protesters and lobbing tear gas inside the bus? Could there be a reason?
It is a very unfortunate situation and circumstance. In one of the conventions of the UN Geneva principles is that you never attack unarmed protesters. It's like now, maybe for the war going on in Israel and between Israel and Gaza, it's like you are going into a humanitarian camp and you're trying to fight those people. That is what directly translates to. So these are people who are unarmed. No police officer went inside that bus and established that these are people who are maybe coming for the protest. And even if they were coming for the protests, they are protected by the Constitution. Articles 1 and 37 of the Constitution, the sovereignty belongs to the people, and we have a right to picket, demonstrate, all these. So it was absolutely unjustified for that police officer, whoever threw that tear gas canister inside that bus. That was not even portraying the image of the police very nice. Even now, at a time when we are supposed to be deploying our officers in Haiti, what is the take of the international community on this? These are unarmed people. They are not even on the streets walking. So that was a wrong portrayal of the police service. It seems more of a police force than a service.
It's more of a police force, and I think people should be made to take personal responsibility.
Sure.
On this case, Kenyans want to sympathize with the police officer who blew, and we were just talking before we went live about this, that Kenyans want to sympathize with that police officer. But when you see such scenes, you tend to withdraw your sympathy, because not all police are bad. But I think there is a clique of instructions that are given or some people just make, because I don't know whether someone will be seated, someone ordering, please throw tear gas in that bus is this and that. The people that came out of that bus, I saw some granny walking there, hata alikuwa anashindwa kutembea. Now there's the young girl that jumped off and fell down
from the window.
You know why? You don't know what has happened. You don't know whether it is an explosive or what is it. And just speaking about this, Frank, let's just revisit something because it's related. That tear gas canister, it went with the arms and the essentials of that officer. This tear gas is normally thrown in a crowd, and people can always hold it. So what is this unique thing that is? Should we really was it a tear gas? It was something else, because inarushwa na huko watu wanaweza shika and things. There have been protests, but we've never seen such an incident.
We are trying to empathize with the officer rather in this situation. But then we also asked ourselves the same question, that if this was just a normal tear gas canister, then why cause that extent of injury? I'm no security expert to the holder of that tear gas. Then the immediate question is, whatever he was aiming at, what would have been the extent of injury? And somebody was even saying that this is an officer who should be interrogated by the anti-terror police unit, because what would detonate that way to an extent that it rips off his arms and even the essentials of him. So I don't know. I'm no security expert, but my comment in that, I'm even nashindwa hata kutoa comment on that,
because it doesn't really make sense. It doesn't really make sense.
Yes.
Let's get to Eldoret. Eldoret is, Eldoret is the home county.
That is the bedroom.
President. Yeah, that is the president's bedroom.
Yes.
And even in Eldoret, things are not looking better either. What do you make of this decision to bring down that UDA wheelbarrow, the symbolic wheelbarrow there?
That was from the start, that was a strong political message. That was a strong political message, because ever since we came from elections, that is around in 2022, up to now, it's almost 2 years down the line, that wheelbarrow has been there. So it means that whatever the message that these people are trying to send directly is that we are tired. And if this is the symbol of the party that propelled you to power, then let it come down. Equally, the president and his political advisors should be worried on that. That was a very clear signal, and it was a very clear sign from the people that we are tired of the wheelbarrow. If it is the wheelbarrow that has been raised higher, that is raising the cost of living, then we are as well as ready to take it down. That's why you are hearing them chant, Zakayo Shuka.
The wheelbarrow is coming down.
The wheelbarrow is coming down.
And that will not be a very good picture. And let's look at a bigger perspective. What ordinarily Kenyans would expect is a situation where those who are protesting are opposition zones. But you will agree with me that the traditional opposition zones are a bit quiet. Someone was saying kwamba Kisumu imeenda bench. On a light note, but I will not want to take that perspective because the Kenyans have taken a non-ethnic approach. But that does not make us dumb to question the kind of abrasiveness that we have witnessed in these three towns. Nakuru, I've seen Nakuru. Nakuru is...
Yes,
Nakuru they've been out. I have seen Kericho. The president was in Kericho just the other day. I have seen Eldoret and I have seen Bomet. And I have seen Nanyuki and I have seen
Laikipia
and Meru.
And Meru.
Laikipia.
Yes.
Now, let's look at the president's backyard. If you see that the president's backyard are joining it, ordinarily what you would expect is that they will say, we are standing with our person. The fact that Kenyans are now not going ethnic, we are not like it's my tribe, it's not it. What would you make of, what would President Ruto take of that? Because in many instances, people say, when I am in trouble, I head back home and it retreat on my people. Remember, when I made this protest, the president had to fly to Garissa to attend the graduation. He could not go to his backyard. If you see even the president's backyard on protest, what does it make on the magnitude of the issue at hand?
Yes, the magnitude of the issue at hand, normally when people are protesting or demonstrating about the outcomes of an election, people in Kisumu maybe they are agitated because their person has not been able to ascend to power. But then this one here, we are talking about economic interests of Kenyans. whether you are a Maasai, you are a Kalenjin, whatever tribe you are, whatever race you are, these are economic interests at heart. And that one directly translates, because you see the majority of the people that came out, these are people whom majority of them didn't vote in the last election. But now they are feeling that now that they are out of schools, the reality hits them that there are no employments, the cost of living is getting high. It's a time that they are transitioning to their own dependency. They're now not depending on their parents. And now they're realizing that even the borrowing that the government is doing and the high taxation regimes that the government is putting in place, these things are now docking at their doorsteps and are now coming to affect them in person. So that would be would resonate at the instance that you see a majority of these people coming out to talk boldly in disregard of whatever region that you're coming from. An injustice anywhere, as we've just said, is an injustice everywhere.
And that is why people are not taking the tribal card at hand. Yesterday, the Commission of Data, is it Data Protection?
Data Protection, Kasait, yes,
was asking the nation that stop sharing the personal details of individuals. But the sense of what you are seeing, the way police are misbehaving, you might really resist that temptation. You might not resist that temptation. And now, this takes me to Nyeri. Dan Madenge, the Nyeri town member of parliament. Yeah, I think he was speaking in parliament the other day. Him and Kere were saying the protests in town are fake crowds.
This house is not moved by external forces. This house moves in its own motion, sumoto, on matters that have to do with budgeting. That the committee was already in the process of engaging Kenyans long before a fake demonstration was organized, Mr. Speaker. And the lie persists, Mr. Speaker, because even some of the photos that we were seeing out of the streets, I can tell you as a graphic editor that they do not belong to this country. Photos were being taken off the internet and being edited and posed as Generation Z. I am a photo expert, Mr. Speaker, and I can point out to you photos that were edited to look like they were in the streets of Nairobi, but they were not. But that was not the point, Mr. Speaker. My point, Mr. Speaker, I would like to let this House know that every digital image has a digital footprint. If a photo was taken in 2020 and is being used yesterday,
and today he was visited.
That protest was taken live to his doorsteps.
Yes, that protest was taken live. The protesters went to his doorstep, in his gate, and wanted to greet him in connotative language. That they wanted to greet him. And this is a very interesting direction, because the protests this time round have been on Tuesday it was only Nairobi.
Yes.
Thursday it has taken now national Mombasa, Kisumu and all the other areas. The MPs are supposed to vote, but the protesters are now visiting the MPs, the residences. Do you think that the angle of constituents going after an individual MP around this bill, should it be a big worry to the MPs? Because it seems not to be the trend, something very unexpected.
You know, while at a time that we expect that it should be a worry, it shouldn't be a worry then. Because when the Office of the Data Protections comes and says that, stop sharing numbers of people in the public, but by the fact that these are public officers, then there is nothing that is stopping us from sharing their numbers. They are responsible to us. They are public officers elected by the public to go represent them. And you see that anger that now they are taking to the doorsteps of these people, even to the point of getting their numbers and sharing. It is because these people, once they are elected, they get to forget that they are elected to represent the people. And now they are thinking that they are only representing themselves. That is why there are claims of bribery, that person X, Y, and Z was bribed certain amount of money in order to vote for something in parliament. You see, what do you even make of that parliamentary group statement that they made in State House, that now they are dropping some clauses from that bill? If this is a process that should be spearheaded by the members of parliament, we are saying that we have three arms of government: the legislature, judiciary, and the executive, and these arms should be independent. And now when that independence is not there, and rather now there is dependence, then that would just translate to whatever is happening right now. Yes.
And I believe that I strongly believe the president must make an urgent decision to stop that voting in parliament. I strongly believe that voting should not happen, because the voting will be the climax.
Of everything.
Yes, of everything. I think what it can still happen. They can still do it, but they need to show something that we are listening to the people out there. Because the reason why people will still come out and protest is the fact that we are not being unheard.
So maybe to ask you, if you are the president today, what would you do? Would you stop the voting? Then if you stop the voting, you have a budget to finance.
No, you can use the other finance bill. I've been hearing, I'm not aware whether it's local.
Yes.
I don't think it's political propaganda. I've been, but someone is saying the last finance bill is still active.
Yes.
Okay. One thing I want to answer that question by playing this video by Ndindi Nyoro. Let's listen to what Ndindi Nyoro said.
And I have communication, Honorable Speaker, from the National Treasury, from the proposals. And I wish that I read some of them, that if the bill does not pass, Honorable Speaker, we'll be reducing the budget for the State House, 451 million, budget at the State Office of the President, 451 million, security organs, defense, for example, will be losing 7.75 billion. Ongoing pivots in our constituencies will have to shelve that ambition by reducing by 800 million, Honorable Speaker. Higher Education Loans Board will be losing 3.2 billion. Honorable Speaker, the JSS teachers, 46,000 of them, Honorable Speaker, by letting this bill pass, will actually be giving jobs at the permanent and pensionable. And Honorable Speaker, if the wisdom of this House is to shelve that decision, then it means the JSS teachers, whom, Honorable Speaker, I would persuade this House that we confirm there will be no funding. NGCDF will be reducing by 15 billion shillings, which is 50 million per constituency, Honorable Speaker. The monies we appropriated for electricity, 50 million per constituency, Honorable Speaker, by, again, not giving the National Treasury the power for more revenue-raising measures. The 50 million per constituency will be disappearing today, Honorable Speaker. Ruto Terrified will be cut 1 billion, Honorable Speaker, if there is no funding, Honorable Speaker, through the finance bill. Our last plea is this. This letter is public information. It can be shared to the members of Parliament. Honorable Speaker, my plea is this, as the chairman of budget, that if it's possible, the House Business Committee can actually bring the appropriations bill this afternoon. That the decision that we take in the finance bill, we can also cascade the same by appropriating the proposed cuts in the appropriation bill so that we can finish the entire business today, Honorable Speaker. However, Honorable Speaker, I am sure with the same energy that you are speaking either for or against, we will also explain to Kenyans, the JSS teachers, I am sure those who will be voting against their confirmation to PNP, we will also explain to them, Honorable Speaker. Those voting against increment in CDF will also be, Honorable Speaker, explaining to Kenyans about it. Those who will be voting against the increment, Honorable Speaker, of employing 20,000 more teachers will have an ample time to explain to the teachers of this country, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, the proposed cut in terms of roads is 15 billion. Those who will be voting against the increment of 15 billion to roads, I am sure they'll eloquently explain to Kenyans about it also, Honorable Speaker.
Now, Nyoro has spoken about some budget cuts there. Okay? He's saying budget, president, office of the president, office of what, office of what, office of what. And and ordinarily, they have targeted areas that touch the people. They have talking about the ISS budget will go down, they will not be absorbed. They have spoken about help, then they have spoken about the feeding program or something. Then, and that one for military. Then they've also said that State House budget will be slashed by 500. So I question, if you are talking about slashing those ones, how about ile ya kutengeneza barabara? Why don't you go and slash ile ya barabara? The treasury is saying that 200 billion is going to be lost if the adjustments are made. The question that begs is this. Instead of going for help, JSS is also talking about the medical interns. Then why don't you stop constructing these roads that you are actually saying that actually roads is a patronage programs. You know, roads is a patronage program. a patronage program in the sense that you want to go and do a rally in Meru, you meet Meru MPs, you pinpoint some few roads and then go and make. I still believe that you can stop and do priority first.
But
just prioritize first.
You know, whatever reason that they are afraid to take that route is because even if you look at the current budget that we have, is that the government is now forced to allocate a lot of money on recurrent expenditure rather than development expenditure. Because that money to fund that development expenditure is not there. But our wage bill is so huge, and this is the place that they are afraid to talk of. If they are indeed true or loyal to whatever they are saying, people like Ndindi Nyoro, then the members of parliament themselves, the members of the executive, should be out and say, now we are ready for salary cuts, we are ready for allowance cuts. But if they're not talking on that, they're talking on things that touch
even
on money
CDF
directly.
has been cut.
Yes.
Even CDF has been
those are services that are coming now to the common man. And when they threaten you that the budget that you are allocating to JSS is not going to be met, it's kind of some reverse psychology trick that they are trying to play on people so that people can back down from this, can retreat. But that is not the truth. They should be honest with the people, and if they are at all honest with the people, then they should seal even the loopholes of corruption. Because why do we need a mandazi worth 1,000 shillings just for a cabinet meeting, for example, when a usual mandazi can cost something like 20 bob? Yes, those are the things that the likes of Ndindi Nyoro should now come out and tell the people.
I think it will be interesting, and we are still following these protests in this country. Yes, and we believe that in the bold here we are covering exclusively this. I think we are number one covering this.
Sure.
Amongst those analysts. You're taking those pride. You're taking those bonga points. And so make sure you subscribe, because you will have a very interesting perspectives as we dissect and bring other angles in this protest. My name is Kevin Oduor.
And I'm Frank. See you on the other side.